Only 15 people in that VIP lounge knew who Jet Li was. The strongman competitors didn't. The event organizers assumed he was just another film actor. And Magnus Samuelsson, the newly crowned world's strongest man, didn't recognize the small Chinese man sitting quietly near the refreshment table. That was about to change. In the next 40 seconds, the most powerful arm wrestler on the planet would experience something his training never prepared him for, and everyone in that room would witness a moment that contradicted everything they understood about strength. This is what really happened on May 16, 1998. This is the story that never made it to the official broadcast. Stockholm, Sweden. Grand Hotel, Stockholm. VIP Hospitality Suite. May the 16th, 1998. Saturday evening, 9:15 p.m. The room is elegant, designed for post-event celebrations. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light across mahogany furniture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the Stockholm harbor, the late spring sun still visible on the horizon. The air carries the scent of expensive cologne, champagne, and athletic exertion. This is the private celebration following the world's strongest man qualifying rounds, an invitation-only gathering for competitors, sponsors, and select media. Approximately 25 people occupy the space. Most of them are massive, the kind of size that makes doorways look narrow. These are powerlifters, Highland Games champions, strongman competitors from 8 countries. Men who deadlift 400 kilograms and pull trucks with their bare hands. The atmosphere is relaxed, but charged with competitive energy. Magnus Samuelsson stands near the center of the room, a glass of sparkling water in his enormous hand. He is 31 years old, 1.90 meters tall, 145 kilograms of functional muscle built through 2 decades of serious strength training. His arms are the size of most men's thighs. His grip strength has been measured at 145 kilograms per hand, strong enough to crush a bowling ball. He is the favorite to win the entire world's strongest man competition, and he carries that status with calm confidence. Magnus is also an accomplished arm wrestler, having competed professionally in Scandinavian tournaments. He understands leverage, wrist control, and the specific mechanics that most strongmen don't. To him, arm wrestling is a technical battle, a chess match played with tendons and joint angles. He's undefeated in informal challenges for 3 years. Jet Li sits in a corner chair, dressed in simple black slacks and a dark gray shirt. He is 35 years old, 1.70 meters tall, approximately 65 kilograms. He is in Stockholm for a film premiere, attending this event as a guest of a mutual sponsor. To most people in this room, he looks impossibly small, almost fragile compared to the strongman competitors. His presence is quiet, unassuming. What no one in this room understands is that Jet Li began training at the Beijing Wushu Academy at age 8. For 12 years, he trained 6 hours daily in Shaolin forms, weapons, conditioning. His body has been conditioned not for size, but for explosive power, tendon strength, and neuromuscular control that Western training systems rarely develop. Shaolin conditioning specifically targets tendon and ligament resilience, the kind of structural strength that doesn't show in muscle mass but reveals itself under extreme stress. The challenge begins casually, almost accidentally. One of the Swedish strongmen, Joachim, gestures toward the refreshment table where Jet Li sits. He asks Magnus if he thinks the movie star does his own stunts or if it's all wires and camera tricks. Magnus glances over, recognizes him vaguely from film posters. Another competitor, Ralph from Germany, laughs and says something about kung fu being great for movies but not for real strength sports. The conversation is good-natured, casual talk among strength athletes, but Jet Li's translator catches fragments. She leans toward Jet Li, translates quietly. Jet Li listens, expression unchanged. He takes a sip of tea, sets the cup down carefully. Then he stands, walks calmly toward the group of strong men. "Excuse me," Jet Li says in accented but clear English. His voice is quiet but carries. The strong men turn, surprised. "I heard my name mentioned. I think maybe there is curiosity about movie fighting versus real strength. This is natural." Magnus smiles, diplomatic. "No offense intended, Mr. Li. We were just talking. Movies are movies. What we do is different." Jet Li nods. "I agree. Very different. You train for maximum power, maximum load. I train for speed, precision, control. Different goals, but strength has many expressions." Magnus is intrigued. The small man isn't defensive. He's speaking like someone who understands training. "What do you mean, different expressions?" Jet Li gestures to Magnus's forearms. "You have incredible muscle mass. Your grip can probably crush most objects. This is one kind of strength, external, visible. In Shaolin training, we develop another kind, tendon strength, connective tissue resilience, neuromuscular efficiency. Not about size, about structure," Ralph interjects, half joking. "So you're saying you're strong?" Jet Li smiles slightly. "I'm saying strength can surprise you. Sometimes the test isn't about who can lift more. It's about who can resist collapse under pressure." The room has quieted. Other guests are noticing the conversation. Magnus sets his glass down, crosses his arms. His competitive instinct is activated, not aggressively, but with curiosity. "You want to test this? Arm wrestling?" Jet Li considers for a moment. His translator looks worried, but Jet Li raises a hand gently. "Under specific conditions," he says, "I will not try to defeat you. That would be unrealistic given our size difference. But I will resist. You attempt to bring my arm down with full force. We see how long structure can hold against power." Magnus grins. "How long do you think you can hold?" Jet Li's expression remains calm. "I don't know. We discover together." The room suddenly feels charged. A film actor challenging the world's strongest man to an arm wrestling match, not to win, but to resist. Several competitors gather around. Someone clears a heavy wooden table. Magnus rolls his shoulders. Jet Li removes his watch, hands it to his translator, and approaches the table. They sit across from each other. The size difference is almost comical. Magnus's hand engulfs Jet Li's when they clasp. His forearm is twice the circumference. Jet Li sits upright, posture perfect, breathing slow and controlled. His grip is firm, but not tense. Someone volunteers to referee, a Norwegian strongman named Bjorn. He checks their hand position, makes sure thumbs are locked, elbows properly placed. "Ready?" Both men nod. "On my signal. 3, 2, 1. Go." Magnus applies pressure immediately. Not his full force yet, but significant. He expects Jet Li's arm to collapse within seconds. That's what physics dictates. But Jet Li's arm doesn't move. It stays vertical, perfectly still. Magnus increases pressure, now using perhaps 40% of his maximum. Jet Li's arm remains motionless. No tremor, no bend. The room is silent. Competitors lean in, watching closely. Magnus frowns slightly, not with frustration but confusion. He increases again, now at 60%. This is the amount of force that would pin most trained arm wrestlers instantly. Jet Li's arm holds. His face shows concentration but not strain. His breathing hasn't changed. 7 seconds have passed. What happens next is what witnesses would discuss for years afterward. Magnus commits fully. He engages his entire body, rotates his shoulder, uses his back muscles, his core, everything. This is the force that has defeated professional arm wrestling champions. This is 145 kilograms of elite strongman power focused through a single arm. And Jet Li's arm bends slightly, maybe 2 inches, then stops. Completely stops. The tendons in his forearm are visible under the skin, taut like steel cables. His wrist is locked at a specific angle. His entire body has become a unified structure, every muscle engaged not to push, but to resist collapse. 12 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Magnus is breathing harder now. He's not holding back anymore. This is a genuine effort, and he cannot move Jet Li's arm further. The small man across from him is somehow distributing force through his skeletal structure in a way that defies the mechanical advantage Magnus should have. But what made everyone in that room question everything they understood about human strength was what they noticed at the 28-second mark. Magnus's arm was trembling slightly. The muscles were firing, fatiguing, the natural result of maximum sustained contraction. But Jet Li's arm wasn't trembling at all. It looked static, like it was locked in position by something other than muscular effort. Later, one of the competitors described it as watching someone hold back a heavy door, except the door wasn't moving and the person holding it looked completely calm. 35 seconds. Magnus is giving everything. His face is flushed. Sweat appears on his forehead, and then, at exactly 40 seconds, Jet Li speaks quietly. "That is enough, I think. I release now," and his arm relaxes, allows Magnus to bring it down slowly to the table. The room erupts, not in cheers, in shocked conversation. What did we just see? Magnus sits back, breathing heavily, shaking his head. He looks at his own arm, then at Jet Li. He extends his hand. Jet Li shakes it. Magnus's voice is quiet, respectful. "What did you do? That wasn't normal resistance. I've arm wrestled professional competitors. I've never felt that." Jet Li takes a slow breath before answering. "In Shaolin training, we condition tendons, ligaments, connective tissue, not just muscle. We learn to create structural integrity, like a bridge holding weight through engineering, through angles, through distribution. Also, breathing control, nervous system control. When you stay calm, you stay efficient. No wasted energy. Your power is incredible, but power requires energy. Structure requires less." Magnus nods slowly, processing. Several other competitors want to ask questions. One of them, a Finnish strongman, asks if he can try. Jet Li politely declines. His translator explains that his arm needs rest, that this kind of resistance creates micro-stress in tissues. The event organizers didn't know how to process what happened. No cameras captured it, just a private moment in a VIP room. Swedish television never mentioned it, but several of the strongmen there that night would later tell the story in interviews, podcasts, training seminars. Magnus Samuelsson himself recounted it multiple times over the years. In a 2003 interview with a Scandinavian sports magazine, he said, "I have arm wrestled hundreds of people. I've competed against the strongest men on earth." What Jet Li did that night in Stockholm, I still can't fully explain. It wasn't that he was stronger than me. He wasn't. But he turned his arm into something that my strength couldn't collapse, like trying to bend a steel rod. You can apply force, but if the structure is right, it just holds. Jet Li left the hotel 20 minutes later. He didn't stay for the rest of the celebration, didn't discuss what happened. His translator later mentioned that he seemed slightly fatigued, but otherwise normal. The strong men who witnessed it spent the rest of the evening debating, theorizing, trying to understand. Some began researching Shaolin conditioning methods, tendon training, isometric holds. The story spread through strength sports circles, usually dismissed as exaggeration or myth. Because how could a 65-kilogram martial artist resist the full force of the world's strongest man for 40 seconds? It contradicts leverage, contradicts muscle physiology, contradicts everything Western strength training teaches. Except it happened. 25 witnesses saw it, and Magnus Samuelsson felt it. He would say years later that it was one of the most humbling moments of his athletic career, not because he lost, but because he encountered something his training never prepared him for. a different kind of strength. For 40 seconds in Stockholm, physics seemed negotiable, and everyone in that room would remember it for the rest of their lives.